And so, hello there, and welcome to a new Night of the Movies podcast. And in these podcasts, I talk all things movies and TV, and whatever I want, for about an hour, once a week. And in today's podcast, I'm talking about Damien Chazelle's new film, Babylon, and answering the question, in my opinion, on whether the film is a masterpiece or a misfire. And also, later in the podcast today, I'll be talking about the fact that a John Williams documentary is in the works from Steven Spielberg. But before I get into all that, I should say what I say at the start of every podcast I do, that if you are watching this podcast on YouTube, hello there to my viewers, but heck, you just don't have the time to watch the full podcast on YouTube, then you can also check this podcast out on Spotify at Night of the Movies on that platform. Likewise, if you are listening to Spotify, and thank you for that, by the way, because I don't get many listeners on there, but if you are listening to Spotify, hello there to podcast listeners, then you can also watch this, you can also watch the podcast on my YouTube channel at Night of the Movies on that platform. Likewise, wherever you're watching or listening to the podcast, please feel free to like and subscribe if you enjoy it. I mean, if you don't, that's fair enough. You don't have to like and subscribe, but I will feel offended. But still, nonetheless, so if you enjoy the podcast, please feel free to like and subscribe and leave some feedback so I know what to improve on in the near term future on these podcasts. And give me some ideas to talk about as well. Give me some ideas on things to talk about. I mean, sometime next week I'll probably be talking about the Oscar nominations, and I've got some plans for the future as well about what to talk about in these live streams, but you know, more often than not, I'm sometimes short on ideas. So I'd love to get some ideas from you guys, whether you're watching or listening, about what I should talk about on these podcasts. But anyway, as already mentioned, in this podcast today, I'm going to be talking about Damien Chazelle's new film, Babylon, and also talking about the John Williams documentary, which is now in the works. So let's talk about Babylon. Let's get straight into it, shall we? So, Babylon is from Damien Chazelle. If you don't know who Damien Chazelle is, he's one of my favourite up-and-coming filmmakers right now. I've loved his films so much, like, so far. Like, Whiplash, his first movie, is one of my favourite films of all time. Granted, that's just me, because I'm someone who plays music. I've been in situations like Miles Teller's characters in that movie, and I just adored that film so much. I remember the first time I watched it, I got to the end and I was literally shaking. I was so into that movie, and I felt so suspenseful as well. I don't know if that's the right use of that word, but you get the point I'm making. I adored that film so much. It was such an intense watch, and if you haven't seen Whiplash yet, check it out, because it's, like I said before, one of my favourite films of all time. And then he also started La La Land in 2018, which wasn't to everyone's liking, but personally, I adored that movie. In fact, I kind of wish I got to watch it in the cinema. Was it 2018 it came out, or was it 2017? In fact, it must have been 2017, because I think I went to go and watch... Or was it even 2016? I can't even remember when La La Land came out. But I was going watching one of the Star Wars movies at the cinema, and I remember seeing the poster for it and thinking, oh, that looks like it's going to be a good film. And then I remember asking for my birthday a couple months down the line, and I remember watching it and not thinking it was going to be my sort of thing. Like, there's some musicals I don't really get into because they're too cheesy and I just can't really deal with them, to be honest. I don't believe in the characters. But the thing is with La La Land, when I was watching it, I was just enchanted by it, and I fell in love with that film, and I've seen it a dozen times since. I adore La La Land to pieces. I understand why people don't, but I think that movie is fantastic. And then we got into First Man, which he directed in 2018. There you go. La La Land was 2016. Yeah, that makes sense. Whiplash was 2014. La La Land was 2016. And First Man was 2018. And First Man was a very different movie than both La La Land and Whiplash. Like, there's even a bit of a theory out there, like, that La La Land and Whiplash are linked up because of J.K. Simmons' characters in both movies. But the thing is, though, First Man is a very different film than both of them, though. And I like First Man. I thought it was a really good film. I didn't think it was quite as good as Whiplash or La La Land, though. I think it's got a lot of great moments, and it's quite an intense film, particularly towards the end. Like, even so, you know where the story's going. It's kind of like Apollo 13. You know where the story's going. It's still, you know, Damien Chazelle still makes it intense as you see where it's going, if you get what I mean. Like, he still makes you feel like you don't really know where the end is, even so you do, because it's based on a true story. It's based on the moon landing with Neil Armstrong, and it's about him and his relationship with his wife and his relationship with his family, and lost because he lost a daughter when he was quite young before the whole moon landing. So there's quite an interesting story going on there. And there's a lot of powerful moments in First Man. I just didn't love it though, I've got to admit. But now it's a new movie. 4 years after he did First Man, he's back with a new movie. And Babylon is all about Hollywood during the 20s into the 30s and even into the 40s, and we see how Hollywood is changing from silent cinema into sound cinema. And also at the centre of this movie we have this love story going on between Diego Calva's character, the protagonist of the film, and Margot Robbie's character. And also we see Brad Pitt's character in the film as well, who's kind of like, he's a star who, what have I put down here? He's a dying movie star. That's what he is. He's a dying movie star. He's not got the same fandom and the same appeal that he once did. And that's the sense of the film. But then out of all that, out of the centre, in all the stuff, on all the other stuff going on, you've got parties, you've got Hollywood trying to make movies in really tough conditions. And that's essentially what the film is about. And honestly, like I said before, I was tremendously looking forward to this film. I haven't actually said that already, have I? I've got it written down here, but I haven't said that already. No, I was tremendously looking forward to this movie. Damien Chazelle is one of my favourite filmmakers around today, and I was so excited to see it. And it's already been out in America. It's been dividing audiences in America, according to Rotten Tomatoes, and according to people I watch, follow on Twitter and stuff like that, people I watch on YouTube. They've gone to see the film. Some people have absolutely loved it, said it was a masterpiece. I said it was one of the best films of last year because it came out in America just before Christmas. And then some people in America were saying it's one of the worst films of the year, and it's absolutely terrible. And there's some critics I follow who live in the UK, who are based in the UK, who really didn't like the movie, and I heard about that yesterday. And so there's been a huge divide with the audiences. So is it a masterpiece or is it a misfire, in my opinion? Honestly, I'm sad to say, I loved this movie. I thought it was great. I had such a good time with it. Now, I don't know if it's a masterpiece. I couldn't say it's a masterpiece. It's not on the same level as Whiplash for me. And to be honest, I wouldn't even say it's on the same level as La La Land either. But the reason I love this film is because it had a rhythm to it. All of Damien Chazelle's films, even First Man as well, which isn't as based around music as, say, La La Land and Whiplash are, all of Damien Chazelle's films have a rhythm to them. You feel like you're in, and then there's a sort of tempo going on, especially in Whiplash. I even did a little drum thing there. There's a tempo going on, and then it slows down a bit, and then the tempo, starts to speed up a bit again, and then there's crescendo, and there's all these great things going on. And for someone like me who plays music, I'm in a brass band myself, I'm watching these movies going, oh, this is brilliant, and this is appealing to someone like me, which is why I love La La Land as well, because there's a rhythm to it, and why we like First Man. And though it's not the same rhythm to First Man as, say, La La Land and Whiplash, there's a rhythm to that film, and it's a powerful rhythm. And there's also a rhythm to Babylon. Now, Babylon at times is weirdly paced, and there's parts of the film which I just don't think work, but there's a rhythm to the film there which I really liked. At the start of the film, you're thrown into this insane 20s Hollywood party, and it's, there's, and I'm not exaggerating here, there's elephants shitting, there's elephants pooing, and there's people weeing on each other, there's people having sex behind each other. It's a crazy party, people doing cocaine left, right and centre. It's absolutely mental. And then the film slows down a little, and then it speeds up again as you try to make this film. There's this whole sequence in the movie early on, within the first half an hour or so, maybe more than the first 40 minutes, where we see Margot Robbie's character, Diego Calva's character, and Brad Pitt's characters all trying to make this movie in one day in different sets. And it's done so well. The way it's edited, it's like that one sequence in Goodfellas, the whole helicopter sequence, where Ray Liotta is trying to do all these things in one day. It's like a movie within a movie. If you've seen Goodfellas, you'll probably know what scene I'm talking about. It's probably the most famous scene of that film. And there's a lot of sequences like that in Babylon, where it's like a movie within a movie. It's the way it's edited, there's a rhythm to it, and when you have that rhythm to the editing and the filmmaking, married up to Justin Hurwitz's score, you can't help but just go along with it. At least that's what I did, and I thought the performances were all great. Diego Calva as the protagonist, I forgot his name, Manuel, that's his name now, Manuel, I forgot it was just before, but yeah, Diego Calva is brilliant in this film. Margot Robbie is good. I don't think it's her best performance. Margot Robbie's best performance, in my opinion, is probably from I, Tonya, that I really like, was Harley Quinn as well. But Margot Robbie was good in the film, but she's chewing up the scenery a lot, and sometimes it's a bit exhausting just to watch her. Sometimes when I say to her, Margot, just bring it down, like, a little bit, she's a bit exhausting, but I did like the way she played that character. I suppose it's exhausting because of the way the character is written, but also her performance just could have been a bit more nuanced in certain sections, and also Brad Pitt's performance as well. He's not his best, he's not like as good as he was in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but I liked him more towards the end of the film. Like, the way they end that character and the way he plays that end, I thought was really, really good. And so I wasn't too big on Brad Pitt's performance at the start of the film, but it grew me as the film progressed. And also, there's this storyline with this character called Sydney in the movie, who's a black American musician who's thrown in to the Hollywood studio system during this period. And by the way, if you don't know about the Hollywood studio system during the 20s, 30s and 40s, go and look it up. It was quite an amazing period in Hollywood history. I've been studying it a bit at university over the past couple of years, but yeah, there's this storyline with Sydney, who's this black American musician who plays trumpet, and he plays trumpet fantastic in the film. The way he plays the trumpet, it looks like he's actually playing it. Like I said before, I play a brass instrument. I know what that is like, so I'm watching it going, am I fully believing him as, am I fully believing him playing that instrument? And I did. I fully believed that he was playing that instrument for the entirety of the film. And the thing is, though, I really, really liked the storyline. I wish I actually got a bit more of him. He's in the film, and he pops up quite a lot, but there's one sequence in particular where you see the emotion played by the person, see the emotion from the person who plays Sydney. I forgot the actor's name is now off the top of my head, but it's done so well, and I think Damien Chazelle captures that emotion beautifully, and I think Sydney's storyline is the best part of the film. I would have liked to see a lot more of it, but I also think the other storylines are great as well. Gene Smart is also great in there, and there's a lot of cameos from famous actors as well. Well, not necessarily cameos, but small roles. Like, Olivia Wilde has a very small role in the film. Catherine Watson does as well. Jeff Garlin pops up in there, and Jeff Garlin I only really know as a dad from the Goldbergs. Remember that show that has kind of, slipped under everyone's radar now. But yeah, I used to watch the Goldbergs quite a bit, and he played the dad in that. And when he popped, I was like, oh, Jeff Garland's in there. A lot of people might know him from Curb Your Enthusiasm as well. I haven't seen that show, but I know he's in it. But he pops up in there, and I was like, okay, why is Jeff Garlin here? Because Jeff Garlin, if you don't know already, look him up if you don't know who he is. He's got one of those faces where he looks like he's been through the 70s. You know what I mean? He looks like he's been through the 70s and the 80s. He looks like he's done drugs this time, I'm not gonna lie. But at the same time, though, I'm looking at it and going, okay, I'm not sure I believe you straight away. But then I did start to believe Jeff Garland's character as the film went on. And I did believe all the characters. That was the thing, though. That really surprised me, because the reason I'm so surprised that I got into this film, the reason I'm so surprised that I liked it so much, is because the first 20 minutes of the movie, which I've already talked about, which is the big pie sequence, is so grotesque and just plain disgusting. It's disgusting. Like, truly, you're watching it going, oh, what is this? Why are they doing this? Like, in the first couple of minutes of the film, in the first minute, really, you see an elephant poo on somebody. And I was sitting there going, why is this necessary? Why do we need to see this? Why do I need to come to the cinema to see an elephant poo on somebody? Why did I need to see that? I go to a zoo if I wanted to see that, and I've actually seen that at a zoo before, so there you go there, a little random fact. But I didn't need to go to the cinema to see an elephant poo on Diego Calva's character. And then about 5 minutes later, probably less than that, more like 3 minutes later, you're thrown into the party sequence. And then you see this guy peeing on a woman, or is it the woman peeing on the guy? You get the point. It's just grotesque. It's grotesque. You're watching, like, what? And I understand that might be the point, but it was kind of off-putting, and I was sitting there thinking, oh my god, I might not like this movie. I was really looking forward to seeing it, but I might not like it now. Hopefully it picks up, and there's people doing cocaine, there's way too much sex in the opening sequence, and the editing I thought was a bit off in the opening 20 minutes as well. But then the film slowed down, and then when it started to slow down and you got to know about these characters, you saw the morning after, that's when the film started to click with me, because I thought that, the elephant pooing and the person weeing on somebody, I thought that was going to be the entirety of the film. Because that's what I'd heard, from a lot of reviewers. They were saying it's completely insane for about 3 hours, because that's how long the film is. It's about that length. I think it's just under 3 hours, actually. I think it's around 2 hours, 40 minutes. But, yeah, I was hearing some people say it's completely insane and crazy for about 2 hours and a half. And although there are definitely, insane sequences pattered throughout the film, it's not insane for 2 hours and 40 minutes. It's not. In fact, it slows down a lot with Maguire and Diego Calva's storyline. That's the romantic story in the film. That's the love story. And it actually reminded me a lot of Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone's, I almost forgot her name there, Emma Stone's love story in La La Land. Even the way the music was, it actually kind of sounded similar. Was it me and Sebastian? They're the characters that Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone play in La La Land. They have this, own sort of motive, own melodic theme which follows them throughout La La Land, and the same thing kind of happens in Babylon. From the same director, so there you go. That's why that happens, and that's also why I kind of like that storyline. Like I said before, Maguire could have toned it down a bit, but I still like the way that storyline went in the film, and just the way everything, it slowed down a bit, and then it started to ramp up again, and then the rhythm of the film started to kick in. I didn't think the film had a rhythm in the first 20 minutes. It just throws you into the 20-minute parties, and I was like, what? Why? Who are these characters? Why should I care? Why is he doing cocaine? Pardon me there. Why is this happening? What? But then it slowed down, and that's when the film started to kick in, and that's when I went, oh, actually, I get it now. I get what this film's trying to do, and you know what? It's working for me. And at times, sure, it feels unfocused. It does. It feels a bit messy. But I also feel that criticism, it feels a bit messy. Now I'm a cope with this as well. I feel that criticism is sometimes just thrown about because another person, people can't think of criticisms for a film. And although this film is messy, to a degree, it's not nearly as messy as some films I've seen in the past, particularly Amsterdam. I know film starring Margot Robbie there, but Amsterdam, which I saw for Christmas, man, that was a incoherent, messy, just. Every time I think about Amsterdam, by the way, side note here, I was thinking about it this morning. I was like, who thought Amsterdam was a good film? Every single time I think about Amsterdam, it annoys me even more. But yeah, it's not nearly as messy as, say, that movie. And actually, even so, at times, this film does feel like it's pulling in different ways, and there's about 3 different movies going on there. It still works, in my opinion. It shouldn't. It really shouldn't. There is about 5 films in there, and it's like, sometimes you're going, oh yeah, I want more of that film, I want more of that, take down Margot Robbie's storyline a bit more. I actually want more of Brad Pitt's storyline here. Okay, maybe not more of Brad Pitt's storyline here. Get Sydney back in there, and then there's also this whole story with another woman, which I forgot about as well. But yeah, there's all these storms going on, and sometimes you want more than sometimes you want less of them. And so the film is pulling all these different directions, and it does feel unfocused, but I had a good time with it. I found it entertaining. I enjoyed watching it. And although I wouldn't say it's a masterpiece, I definitely wouldn't say it's a misfire. I definitely would not say it's a misfire. And I think that, I think that's great. I'm happy that I'm saying that, because like I said before, the film has divided audiences. According to Rotten Tomatoes, the film is quite literally split on there. And critics score is like 50%, and the audience score is like 53% on there. So it's pretty much split audiences. And by the way, Rotten Tomatoes is a complete joke. I know I just referred to them there, and I might do a podcast about this in the near distant future anyway, but Rotten Tomatoes is a complete and utter joke. Like, I understand why people use it, and I've used it as well, so I'm actually kind of, criticising myself here. I'm being quite self-deprecating, but you get the point. Like, Rotten Tomatoes is rubbish. I don't know why so many people use it as, like, a resource to say whether a movie is good or bad. You should decide that in yourself. You can use that as, like, a platform or something to go to see if you agree with that. Sure, you can use it as, you can use it to either conscious on a film and things like that. But at the same time, though, it shouldn't be used all the time. You shouldn't decide whether you're going to go and watch a movie or not. Because in reality, not every single film critic is on Rotten Tomatoes. And also, Rotten Tomatoes only represent a select, well, quite a huge, but at the same time, no, select critic, scores. It doesn't present every single critic in the world. And some people, they say that it does. And also... The thing is with many movies on Rotten Tomatoes, if it gets like a 99%, quite a lot of the time on Rotten Tomatoes, people look at that and go, oh, well, the movie must be excellent. And actually, it's just people going, some people going, yeah, I absolutely love the film. Sure, that contributes to the 99% on Rotten Tomatoes. But also, you get some people just going, yeah, I like the movie. I didn't love it, but I liked it. And that also contributes to 99%. So that just might be some people saying the film was okay, and then altogether that mounts up to 99%. And that's the same, the other way around. If a film's like 10% on Rotten Tomatoes or 20% or something like that, people might look at that and go, oh my god, it's going to be awful. But in reality, that might be a lot of people going, was it for me? Not necessarily isn't awful. I mean, there's probably going to be some reviews in that bunch that say it's awful. But at the same time, though, it's not just everyone saying it's awful. It might be a couple of people saying it's awful. It might be a couple of people going, wasn't for me, but I can see the appeal. So that's why I don't think people should trust Rotten Tomatoes too much. There's YouTubers I watch who I admire so much, but they just trust Rotten Tomatoes way too much. It's useful. I'm not gonna lie. I've used it in the past. But it is also rubbish. And you should just make your opinion up for yourself when you go watch a film. And that's what I do with Babylon. Even so I knew a divided audience before I went to go and see it, I sat there in the cinema about to watch the film yesterday. I was thinking to myself, just take it what it is. If it's not your cup of tea, that's absolutely fine. If it swings your way, though, that's great. And you know what? It did swing my way. And also, I've heard a lot of people talk about Tobey Maguire's part in this film. And isn't there like a whole meme for him with his laugh right now as well? And Tobey Maguire, I forgot was actually in this movie. I'd heard a long while ago he was cast in it. And I forgot he was in it until he popped up in there. I was like, oh, Tobey Maguire, my favourite Spider-Man. And so I was like, oh, okay, what's his story going on? Because not to give too much away, he pops up much later in the film than you might expect. But then the Tobey Maguire section of the film, though, is, and I mean this in every sense of the word, wild. Like, I was watching it, and I was like, okay, it's kind of like Boogie Nights. There's like the whole Alpha Molina section of Boogie Nights. Okay, where's it going, though? And then it continues, and it becomes like a horror movie. And then it continues even further, and then it becomes like a gangster film. You're going, what? What? I must admit, I don't know if the whole Tobey Maguire section of the film was needed. I don't know if it was. And you probably could have easily edited that out, actually. But I wouldn't. I liked that much. It's like the whole Andy Armas section of No Time to Die. That film, that section with Andy Armas in No Time to Die, which is kicking ass, isn't necessarily needed. But I'll keep it in there. And that's the same way I feel about Tobey Maguire's storyline. It's not needed, and in fact, at times it feels like a bit too much, but I wouldn't take it out. There was a whole section where, if you watch the film, you know what I mean, he's going into different rooms, and I was literally clutching the edge of my cinema seat going, I don't know where it's going. What the hell? Like, the film changed into 3 different genres. The start of the film, it's a crazy sort of comedy, and then, continues into a comedy and a bit of a fast one and things like that. Then it turns into a bit of a romance and a bit of a drama. Then towards the end of the film, it turns into a bit of a horror movie, and it's like a bit of a thriller, and it's a gangster film, and it's gone into all these different genres, and it shouldn't work. And the Tobey Maguire storyline could have easily, and I mean easily, be taken out, but I wouldn't take it out. And even so it does feel like 3 different films, even so it does feel like it's pulling into all these different directions, all the different storylines, I still really enjoyed it. And it's not going to be to everyone's liking, so don't go into the film expecting to have the same reaction as I did to it. You might watch the film and come out of it and go, what the hell was that? Because, like I said before, there's some critics I admire who have had that reaction. But I came out of the film and went, you know what? That was brilliant. And you know what? I saw this tweet from someone last night as well. other critic slash interviewer who I watch quite a bit said on Twitter, call me in 5 years when everyone realises Babylon is a masterpiece. And you know what? I agree with it. I genuinely think this is going to be one of those films which will get the love it deserves in about 5-6 years' time. I don't think it's going to get it at the moment because, you know, this people say it's a lot of movies, but I do think it's true with Babylon. It's ahead of its time. I do think it's ahead of its time. And it's an ambitious film, and sometimes because it's so ambitious, it does feel a bit flat. I'm not gonna lie, there's parts of the film which aren't as good as they could be, and I don't think it's Damien Chazelle's best movie. I still think his best film is Whiplash. Granted, that's one of my favourite films of all time. It's in my top 10. But at the same time, though, I don't think it's his best movie, and nor do I think it's as good as La La Land. But I liked it more than First Man. That's something I didn't expect to say, but I'm here saying it now. I liked it more than First Man, and I had a great time with it. It really picked up. It really picked up after the first 20 minutes. The first 20 minutes was a bit hard to get through, I'm not gonna lie, but then it picked up, and I liked the way it went. I really, really liked it. Now, I'm not gonna say it was a masterpiece or anything like that. You know, maybe I will in a couple of years' time. Maybe if this podcast gets a lot of views today, maybe I will make another video of Babylon in the near future. I don't know. Haven't really planned that far ahead. I'm more somebody plans like a week ahead and everything like that. But still, nevertheless, maybe in the near future I will do another video or podcast or something on Babylon. So, in my opinion, it's not a masterpiece yet, but it could be in the future. But I loved it. And, you know, I'd much rather like a film than dislike a movie, because I feel there's a lot of people who do the way around nowadays. You know, they go into a film and they want to dislike it. And I mean, I've done that a bit in the past. I even did that a bit with Avatar too, but I ended up coming to that movie and loving it. So, you know, I feel there's more people who want to dislike things nowadays and dislike things for the sake of disliking things in sort of movie culture and everything like that. And I'm somebody who'd rather do the other way around. I would rather like everything I saw. And even so I don't like everything I saw, that'd be a boring channel if we liked it. If I sat here every single time I was doing a film review and went, actually, I really liked it. You know, that'd be a bit of a boring channel. But I would rather like him even than dislike it. And I really, really liked this film. I loved it, like I said before. Don't know what the point was I was making there. But, yeah. I know it's dividing audiences. I know people don't like it. And it's not going to be for everyone's liking. But personally, I thought it was ambitious, I thought it was emotional, and I thought it was exciting, and I thought it was another great Damien Chazelle film. And so for that reason, I'm going to say that Babylon, I'm going to say it's an 8.5 out of 10. Would I recommend it? Yeah, you know what, I would. I think it's a film which you just need to decide on yourself whether you actually like it or not. I'm not going to discourage anyone from seeing this film whatsoever. In fact, I would encourage people to go watch it, like what he said. But at the same time, though, be aware. You know, it might be forever. And also, it's an 18, so if you're watching this video right now and you're younger than 18, you can't watch Babylon anyway, unless you watch it when it comes out on streaming or on DVD. But at the same time, I'm really happy I saw it. And, also, Justin Hurwitz's score is getting nominated for Oscars. Well, it's getting nominated for awards. The Oscar nominations haven't come out yet. But it's getting nominated for a lot of awards. It got nominated for a Golden Globe. I think it won the Golden Globe. Not that Golden Globes really matter, but still, I think it won the Critics' Choice Award, something like that. I wasn't really sure. But it's been nominated as the BAFTAs as well. It's also been nominated at the BAFTAs. So I can see Justin Hurwitz winning the Oscar for musical score for the film, because his musical score, that was the first thing I did actually after I left the cinema. I went on Spotify and I literally just played his score from Babylon. I think it's a magnificent score. In fact, there's even an argument out there, and I might agree to this argument, that the score's a bit better than the film itself. I still love the movie, but the score itself is magnificent. But anyway, I really, really enjoyed Babylon, and I thought it had a great rhythm to it. It didn't feel like 3 hours in my opinion, it felt like 2 hours, and yeah, it wasn't as insane as some people made out to be as well. You know, there's some critics out there saying, Babylon is insane for 3 hours and it doesn't stop. It does slow down. It isn't just orgy after orgy after orgy. Like, there's orgies in this film, I'm not gonna lie. There's orgies in this movie. But it's not just orgy after orgy after orgy, like I've heard some people say. It slows down. It takes its time. I think it's well paced. to a certain degree, and I think the story, the romantic storyline, is what is at the centre of the film, and that what makes it work, and that's what makes the film so damn. I really liked it. I've been rambling about Babylon. I've been rambling on about Babylon way too much, but I loved it. That's why I've been rambling about it. I loved it, and I can't wait to see what Damien Chazelle does next. Hopefully it's in a musical sort of film, in the same vein as, say, this, Whiplash or La La Land. Although I've got a feeling he won't make another movie like this because of how divisive it's been. Although one thing, and this is the last thing I'll mention on Babylon, I recently, in this review, I brought the fact that I've been dividing audiences. Damien Chazelle came out recently and said more movies should do that. I completely agree with him. I got more excited to see this film when I heard it was dividing audiences, because that's when a movie is kind of doing the right thing. It's getting people talking, and so there's going to be people on one end of the spectrum who despise this movie, never want to see it again, and there's going to be people like me who want to watch it again really, really soon. So, I like films that divide audiences. I'm with Damien Chazelle, and I think more films should do that. That's also a reason I love Last Jedi as well. Had to get the Star Wars reference in there. But yes, I love Babylon. I would recommend it, although beware, it might not be for you. And like I said before, I'd give it an 8.5 out of 10. But anyway, let's move in to my second topic on today's podcast. I'm not going to spend loads of time on this, but I do want to talk about it because it is about my favourite composer of all time, and that is the fact that a John Williams documentary is in the works from none other than, none other than Steven Spielberg. Hey, and if you don't know who John Williams is already, let's just quickly name some of the famous films he composed the music for. Just top of my head, all 9 main Star Wars movies, all 4 Indiana Jones films, the first 3 Harry Potter films, Home Alone 1 and 2, E.T. the Extraterrestrial, 1941. I'm just going to get the list I've got up here, should have heard this before, but also Saving Private Ryan, Lincoln, Empire of the Sun, Schindler's List, The Sugarland Express, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, Amistad, AI, Artificial Intelligence, Minority Report, Catch Me If You Can, The Terminal, Munich, War of the Worlds, the Tom Cruise version of course, Warhorse, Tintin, the Spielberg Tintin, The Post, the BFG, as well as the first 2 Jurassic Park films, and he's also doing the music for Spielberg's upcoming film The Fabelmans, which isn't out in this country yet, which I'm seeing next week, which I'm very excited about. And also he's doing the music as well for the new and upcoming Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, which, if people know me already, is my most anticipated movie for the whole of this year. Can't wait to that film. One of the things I'm most looking forward to with Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, actually, is hearing a new John Williams score. So, yeah. John Williams is my favourite film composer of all time. I've got all of his scores back down CD, and I'm really looking forward to seeing a documentary on him. Now let's see what this article says about the documentary. His music. Now you'll be able to know him. That's the opening line of the article from the Hollywood Reporter about the documentary, and so yeah, let's see if it's true. Let's see if the documentary delivers on that. But anyway, John Williams is a legendary screen composer behind some of the most recognised movie themes of all time: Raiders March, Star Wars theme, Imperials March, Superman theme, the original Superman theme, the Jurassic Park theme, E.T. theme, and so on and so on and so on. Is now the subject of a feature-length documentary with his longtime collaborator Steven Spielberg among those spearheading the project. Amblin Television, Amblin is Spielberg's production company, Imagine Documentaries, and Netherland Media are in the very early stages of production on the documentary that is being directed by Laurent Borzio. I might pronounce that name wrong, and apologies if I am. Kind of wish it was directed by Spielberg, although as far as I know, Spielberg hasn't directed the documentary, though that's absolutely fine. And also, I think Spielberg's at work on another movie. I think he's doing a remake of an old classic with Bradley Cooper or some film. I forgot what it is now, but it's like Bullet Train or something. It's not the Brad Pitt Bullet Train that's just come out. It's not remaking that, but it's something like that. I think he's in the works of another film right now, so that's absolutely understandable why he's not directing this. But Steven Spielberg is executive producing, along with Ron Howard, who has worked with John Williams as well on the score for Far Away, which I haven't seen, the Tom Cruise movie, and also he worked with John Williams on the score for Solo, because even though John Williams didn't score Solo, A Star Story, he did do the main theme for that film, probably the best piece of music from that movie, and so I think John Powell's score is great. Williams is the most recognised and accomplished composer alive, and perhaps the most influential in movie history, completely agree there, and it's his unique 50-year relationship with Spielberg that is remarkable in an industry that resists longevity and is eager to chase the next big and usually young thing. Williams, who is now 90 years old, by the way, was expected to retire after Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, which is being directed by James Mangold. But at a talk with Spielberg on stage earlier this month, Williams surprised his friend by saying that he no longer planned on retiring after that movie. A visibly emotional Spielberg remarked he better figure out what film he was doing next. I bet Spielberg already knows that, by the way. Spielberg went on to compare their 50 relationship to an ideal marriage. I don't think we've ever had a disagreement, he said, adding with a chuckle, I mean, what am I going to do? Sit down and write the music myself. And then it just kind of talks about all the movies that John Williams did the music for. One film I forgot to mention that John Williams did the music for was Jaws, which has had one of the most iconic scores of all time. He won an Oscar for that. So yeah, there's a John Williams documentary in the works, and you know what? Colour me excited. I know this documentary probably won't appeal to everyone, but I want to talk about it anyway, just briefly, in this podcast, because, like I said before, John Williams is my favourite composer of all time. Just get my little Jaws Funko Pop out there, yeah? That's Robert Shaw's character being Quint, that's his name, Quint being eaten by the shark, you know, he's did the music for Jaws. Just behind it, if you bear with me a sec. He also did the music for E.T. Got my E.T. Funko Pop there. Don't know how I was going with the lighting. But still, you get the point. Don't know how that would have been for podcast listeners. Just got my Funko Pops out there because on my desk right here. And I've just realised that the Funko, that the listeners aren't going to actually see that. So, little random moment for podcast listeners, if there are any, sorry about that, I was just showing some Funko Pops on my desk. But yes, John Williams is my favourite composer of all time. Can't wait to see a documentary on him, and also can't wait to see the amount of interviews we're going to see on him as well. There's going to be such a huge range of people who worked with him. You know, Christopher Columbus, who directed the first two Home Alone films and the first two Harry Potter movies. We'll get interviews from him. Maybe Alfonso Cuarón, because he directed the third Harry Potter movie, which John Williams did the music for. Obviously, we're going to get interviews from Spielberg. Probably interviews from a lot of people who worked with Spielberg as well, like Tom Hanks, maybe Tom Cruise in there, talking about the music. Also, Harrison Ford, he has a good relationship with John Williams, which he saw at Star Celebration last year. Also, probably get interviews from Ron Howard, George Lucas, who's worked on numerous films. Also, it's going to get this huge range of interviews. Probably Oliver Stone as well, because one thing I didn't mention is John Williams did the score for Oliver Stone's JFK, which just has a magnificent score. So, yeah, I can't wait to the wide range of interviews we're going to get from this documentary. I also can't wait to hear more about his story. You know, I don't really know much about John Williams' story. I know what he did the music for, but at the same time, I don't really know much about his story, so I'm looking forward to hearing how he came to the film music business, because I know he started off as a jazz musician. I heard him talking about that on the behind the scenes feature on The Terminal, because if you watch The Terminal, there's a whole big link to jazz in that film towards the end. Also, I'm excited to potentially see some unseen archival footage before as well of him doing the score for films like E.T. or Jurassic Park, or maybe even Jurassic Park 2, and you know, so on and so on and so on. So I'm really excited to see what this documentary is going to be like. Hopefully it comes out on a streaming service that I'm able to access it on. Hopefully it comes out in the cinema. I don't think it will, but you know, you never know. Yeah, hopefully it comes out on a streaming service I'm able to see it on. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to it, as I already mentioned. And hopefully it's going to be good. Hopefully it's going to be good. And with Spielberg behind it, I've got hope, and it's also great to hear that John Williams isn't retiring after Indiana Jones 5, which was a bit of a worry. But still, nonetheless, can't wait to hear his score for The Fabelmans, which I'll be seeing next week. Can't wait to hear his new score for Indiana Jones 5 as well. Another new Indiana Jones John Williams score. Just that within itself fills me with excitement, and I can't wait to see his documentary. It probably won't come until next year at the earliest, but still, it's glad to know it's happening. Anyway, guys, that's it for today's podcast, because I got to round things off, because I've got places to be and people to see. So, thank you as always for watching or listening, and if you haven't yet, please feel free to like and subscribe down below wherever you're watching or listening to this podcast. And yeah, if you are watching this on YouTube, by the way, I should reiterate, you can also listen to it on Spotify. Please feel free to do so, because I don't get many podcast listeners, so it fills me with glee when I see that people are listening on Spotify. It fills me with glee. But still, yep, thank you for watching or listening, whatever you have been doing, whatever you've been doing this podcast. And also look forward to many more film reviews coming in the next week or so. Hopefully, I've got some coming within the week. We'll wait and see. TV reviews, can't say yet, because I haven't actually seen many TV shows recently. I'm actually in the midst of rewatching Andor. So there you go. But anyway, also look forward to more podcasts coming. I'm probably going to do a podcast in the week next week, because the Oscar nominations are coming out, as far as I've heard, on Tuesday. So I'll probably have a podcast actually coming within the week next week. I suppose it's this week now. Whichever way you want to refer to as weeks. Whenever the week ends for you, the other point I'm making. Yeah, I'll probably have a podcast coming within this week. But I hope you've enjoyed this one. And thank you as always for watching, like I said before, and I suppose that's it. So I'll see you guys again soon. But bye for now. Bye.